Mr Davies. It's a pleasure to see you in the chair. I beg to move that this House has considered procurement and the UK defence industry. I should start by declaring an interest in that my partner is a serving member of the armed forces currently deployed overseas. When the UK left the European Union at the beginning of 2020, the Conservative government had the chance to deliver a stronger, better, independent Britain, built on the principles of sovereignty, security and prosperity. 2 years later, and the UK has proven time and again, most recently through our instrumental support of Ukraine in Europe's most significant war in recent memory, the importance of the UK Armed Forces has been highlighted, cementing its vitality and necessity, and confirming that the UK can now retain its autonomy and sovereignty, further bettering our nation. Away from the commandments of the European Union and the European Procurement Directive, we can commit to improving and harnessing the potential of UK defence. Procurement of defence weapons is critical to a strong armed forces. Procurement of high-quality, trusted, organically sourced defence weapons is instrumental to a world-class armed forces. Now, each year, the Ministry of Defence spends billions buying new equipment and supporting existing equipment for the armed forces. This is a substantial amount of money, but never before has ensuring that our defence capabilities are world-class been more important. However, there are challenges to acquiring defence equipment. It is expensive, complex and subject to politics. However, locally sourced organic procurement is a sure way of supporting the British Armed Forces, our local communities and our allies. Within the last 2 years, the government has significantly altered its priorities, as attested by the Integrated Review, the Defence Command Paper and the Defence and Security Industrial Strategy. In accordance with the DSIS, the UK is now adopting a new strategic framework for the MOD's procurement and acquisitions programme. This will be a dramatic but necessary change. No longer will we follow competition by default, and instead we will adopt a more flexible approach that assesses procurement on a case-by-case basis. By outlining our strategic imperatives, such as nuclear and offensive cyber, amongst others, the government recognises that there is a strength to retaining defence industries on UK shores. Not only does this aid us from a national security point of view, but allows businesses to direct their innovation to areas where the government has demonstrated an interest. Now, in my constituency of Brecon and Radnorshire, the armed forces are celebrated widely. I am proud to have Brecon Barracks, the home of the Army in Wales, and to represent a strong military community that comes with it. In fact, I think I am one of the few constituencies in the House to have RAF, Navy and Army sites. In addition to the barracks, we are fortunate to be home to innovative defence procurement businesses. This week, I've had the pleasure of speaking to Compact Orbital Gears, based in Rhayader, and Charcroft Electronics, both of which work within the defence procurement industry. Each deal with different elements of the defence procurement supply chain and produce and distribute to major companies in the UK and abroad. Charcroft Electronics is a distributor and manufacturer of electronic components specialising in high reliability and harsh environments. They support programmes such as Typhoon and the Brimstone missile system currently being deployed in Ukraine. They are proud to be 100% UK-based company and employ 76 people in Wales, plus a further 4 in England. Not lucky enough to work in Wales. Charcroft Electronics and Compact Orbital Gears are excellent examples of British companies working to better British security by supplying procurement to our defence industry. UK companies working for UK national security is a strength, the fact of which should not be minimised. The invasion of Ukraine has laid bare the strength of our armed forces, and it's right that we are proud of this and continue to use our strength to remain a key voice in NATO and ensure the safety of our partner countries. Our seat in NATO and every major organisation, such as G7, the UN Security Council and the G20, prove our multilateral influence and should inspire the government to further commit to British procurement for British security, to protect us and to continue our international influence. To do this, we must keep supporting the UK procurement defence industry. Not only will we be supporting ourselves, but our allies as well, and critically, the communities that rely on this industry. I certainly will.
I'm very grateful to the honourable member who's making a fantastic speech. When it comes to procurement, we have seen a sea change, and that's coming through on the ground in the likes of places where I have Myra in my patch, who are involved in Spiral 3 and the unmanned ground vehicles there. The benefit of the way the system in the UK is now working is that new small scale, allowing new entrants to build up and build into that procurement like they haven't been able to do before. That seems to be a step change and leading the world in that way. Is that something she believes the government should be looking to do more, to allow more entry from local businesses? And of course, that means a local supply network that we see right here in Leicestershire, all building together as a community that means we have agile procurement that's fit for the future.
I thank my honourable friend for that intervention, and I would completely support the point he's making. I'm delighted that I believe Compact Orbital Gears in my constituency works closely with Myra in his constituency. That's absolutely the type of arrangement that the government should be facilitating, and I fully endorse his words. I firmly believe that by supporting the UK's SMEs, as my honourable friend has just been pointing out, and harnessing our international influence, the UK has the potential to be the defence marketplace for our NATO partners. We have the intellectual prowess and manufacturing capability to become the hub for defence innovation globally. I understand from Charcroft Electronics that they have seen an increase in trade with our European partners due to their profile within UK markets. They are now looking to expand their production due to demand. To quote their director, orders are going through the roof from German and UK customers, and they are now at capacity until the end of next year. Charcroft has demonstrated to me that there is a clear sense of security, knowing that your parts are not stored or being built abroad and potentially subject to disruptive geopolitical shocks. They are harnessing their influence at home and abroad to work closely with other UK defence businesses and with those in our neighbouring countries, engaging in research and development for future defence programmes. Their success is obvious and well-deserved, and I'm grateful to the government for committing to supporting SMEs across the UK via the SME Action Plan, so that we may improve further engagement and ensure that the whole of the defence supply chain is guaranteed the quality and service delivered by our UK businesses. Now, while I commend Charcroft and Compact Orbital Gears and other businesses right across Wales who are supplying the defence sector, there are some limitations to procurement within UK defence. In order to continue their success and development, we need to ensure that our skills-based economy is up to scratch to match our intellectual capacity. It is apparent that there are limitations to growth due to the difficulty in hiring highly skilled individuals in rural areas. I welcome the government's commitment to invest in our defence sector and recognise the commitment to apprenticeships to combat skilled job shortages. I understand from ADS Group, a trade organisation for companies operating in UK defence, that there are around 5,000 apprentices in employment in the UK defence sector. This is evidence of a budding workforce. However, in constituencies like mine, it is a different picture. In rural communities, there are myriad reasons for this, including inaccessibility and a lack of connectivity. Charcroft told me that despite their best efforts, apprentices are hard to come by. We need to be committed to nurturing our homegrown talent to strengthen our defence industry in order that businesses can expand and develop easily without this kind of anxiety. I will.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way. Does she agree with me that the new medium helicopter programme in particular gives a very good example of how we can support that skills development and the sustainment, particularly of design skills within the defence manufacturing sector? My college in Yeovil works very closely with Leonardo to provide apprenticeships for exactly those sorts of things which she is describing. And there's a massive opportunity there if the MOD becomes the reference customer for major export business to be done in the future off the back of that, to really sustain jobs throughout Wales and the southwest in general and in the wider UK.
Fay Jones.
I thank him for his intervention. I certainly do agree. I think that was something that I saw when I was part of the Armed Forces Parliamentary Scheme, and I went on a visit, if not in his constituency, but very near it. Whatever this government can do to reduce the barriers for recruiting and retaining talent in rural areas, That is a key part of the government's levelling up agenda, and I would really like to see that extended to the defence procurement sector. Because it is by investing in the next generation that we harness our talent and ensure that the UK maintains the epicentre of defence in Europe, a position which has been solidified in recent months. And I want to talk about a particular example just outside my constituency. In Merthyr is the development of the Ajax Armoured Vehicle Programme. It employs 600 people directly at that site and is considered a key employer in the area, employing highly skilled people, many of which will work in my neighbouring constituency, will live in my neighbouring constituency. Now, I understand the difficult position that the government is in concerning the future of Ajax. It is extremely expensive, and to continue a project that is consistently revealing design flaw is suboptimal, to say the least. And I fully understand that the government is in a difficult position, but ending that uncertainty on the future of Ajax is something that I know we would all like to see. I do believe there is a real opportunity for further investment in the skill set so that we can overcome the issues that we have seen. So to reiterate, homegrown talent breeds better security. And as much as I understand the Secretary of State and ministers are looking closely at Ajax, closing that programme does bring with it some negative consequences, those of which I know the minister understands. But the Prosperity Review, published in 2018, has suggested that prosperity should be taken into consideration when deciding on procurement contracts. And as the DSIS outlines, to ensure a prosperous, secure Britain, we should encourage placing contracts with UK suppliers rather than buying from overseas suppliers. By factoring in local prosperity, such as the training, jobs, further opportunity for UK exports and increased industrial productivity, UK defence spending can be used to greater benefit the wider economy and the many local economies that have a part in the UK's defence industry. So this brings me to my next point. There are undeniable benefits to ensuring our procurement for the defence industry operates and develops within the UK. And I would like to see that same logic extended to the operational ration packs that our military use on active duty. I know the Minister will remember those ration packs probably slightly too well from his time. But Mr Davis, one of the reasons why I sought to secure this debate was because my kitchen is full of leftover ration packs from various exercises across Salisbury Plain or the Brecon Beacons. And going through them one day, I noticed that the amount of food we give our soldiers, the majority of it does not come from this country. Now, I understand that we are dealing with a particular need here. Soldiers certainly do not have the time to eat a three-course meal, nor would they want to. We have to consider the operational needs. So we are looking to keep our military personnel fed, but I think it's important they are well fed. And anything that we can do to use more of the high-quality, nutritious food that we produce in this country, I think should be celebrated. This would further extend the government's commitment to working with UK businesses. I understand that the country of origin of each ingredient is considered for what we put in the ration packs, and that our national security is also considered, as it should be. But I think it would be fantastic if the government could look to extend its commitment on the procurement of UK defence to the food supply that we give our armed forces. I've drawn attention to food security previously in this House, and I am delighted that the government has recognised the importance of domestic food production in the food strategy it published last week. It's time we extended our self-sufficiency beyond defence equipment to the food we give our armed forces, and I hope that the Minister will look at this in his response. So, Mr Davies, before I conclude and give way to the Minister, I am extremely proud of this government's record on British procurement in the defence sector. It is of vital importance to the jobs and prosperity in my constituency. But I would leave the Minister with two clear points. Looking at ways to remove the barriers to ensure that companies working in the defence procurement space can recruit apprentices and can recruit from rural areas would sustain the prosperity that this government is determined to deliver. And likewise, matching the government's commitment to food security by increasing the sourcing of British food in the armed forces would ensure we are delivering the secure and prosperous armed forces that we would like to see. Thank you very much.
Prefer not to. I call Fay Jones to move the motion.